Red leather, yellow leather.
Red leather, yellow leather.
Where did you learn that from?
I don't know. It was some warm up, I'm sure. I learned somewhere along the way.
Were you ever like in choir?
I did a lot of theater.
So you...
I was in a lot. Okay, yeah, I think the way the podcast works is there's not a peanut gallery. I don't know the rules. You tell me, Becky.
Okay, well, then we're going to just start talking.
Yeah.
Okay, so... Yes. Thank you, darling. Red leather, yellow leather. So you learned that was a way to warm up your...
I mean, I'm sure I never used it, but I've,
To warm up your throat?
Apparently.
What did Will Ferrell do on Anchorman?
I don't remember.
Well, it was something.
Sure, it was inappropriate.
It was something inappropriate.
No.
I was somewhere in school in choir, and she would start us off, and you think about it differently when you're a kid versus when you're an adult. She would have us warm up our throats, our voices, and she would do things like, "Where shall I kick you today?
Oh, wow.
Boom, boom. Where shall I kick you today?"
It's violent and practical.
Wow.
I like
And
it.
I'm like, I'm like, you're thinking about that as an adult. You're like, I get it. She's in a room full of kids. And she's
yeah,
like,
she's
oh,
like,
no,
no,
100%. I'm just surprised she didn't do it.
and we're all laughing.
Yeah.
Right? Because, Mrs.
funny.
She's so funny.
We joked around her name was Off the Doll. And we called her Mrs. Off the Wall. And
I wonder why she wanted to kick you.
she was actually really cool. Really cool. So
I don't know if there are any
but
cool
that's
teachers left. They all left the profession, sadly.
yeah.
That's all I hear about. I have several family members that are no longer teachers. It's sad.
Yeah, it's a shame.
I just can't
but
deal.
Hopefully that'll change. So, Peter,
Tell me.
you are back on our show.
I'm back against my will. I'll have the audience
what?
know.
No,
That's not true. I did have to bribe him, though.
With food.
Food.
But I think we had to
Food
bribe him
and-
last time, too.
We did.
No, I respond to bribes well. I'm not afraid to admit
That's
that.
good.
Yeah, I'm
That's
fine with
good.
that.
No,
Oh, last time, though, I didn't feed you.
No?
No, we fed him. I think that was
I
the
don't
thing.
think we
Well, maybe
did.
you promised food and then I showed up and there was no food, but I would have shown up
there
anyway.
was definitely
so.
wine.
We had drinks. I don't think we had
Yeah.
food,
No,
though.
I'll show up for any of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of drinks, I actually have on my list, I've been working on this since the last time we talked. And on here, I put Tequila Talk.
I think you should tell the audience about your notes.
My notes are insane, audience. I have so many notes for this episode,
And this
which
this
is unlike me.
This is the girl who never has.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll
Couple
have
words.
like a few things jotted down in your
Yeah.
notes on your phone, but that's it.
No, I have an outline, and I have notes, and I have answer questions.
Do you have an outline with
I
bullet
have-
points even?
well, kind of.
Wow.
She showed up prepared.
I think that's a compliment.
Yes.
Peter.
I love that for you.
So, but no, I have just to get our voices warmed up.
Yeah.
Thought we could talk a little bit about tequila because
Let's do
apparently
it.
it's on my list.
I like tequila.
and I don't know why it's on my list.
I don't know.
So
Probably because you were talking about tequila.
I was probably drinking it and we
Brilliant.
were talking about it. But you know what? I learned a lot from you about tequila because I learned that a lot of these great tequila brands are smooth because they have glycerin.
That's
in
right.
them.
We talked about the additives. Yeah.
Right, which is such a shame because
I know.
because I was, you know how I feel about like
Yeah.
Clase Azul, and
Sorry. I know.
so now my love has been Casamigos Reposado.
That's Casamigos is great.
It's so good.
Yep.
I drink it on the rocks. It's my favorite,
Yep.
and I looked into it, and I'm not seeing anything about the additives, so
Yep.
I think I'm okay.
Yep.
So I
Casa
don't-
Noble is great. No additives. And Patron has no additives. And Patron, you can actually like taste they like slightly overcook it. It's delicious.
but I don't like Patron. And now, granted, I've only had the clear one.
Yeah.
But it's just, I feel like it burns too much.
Well, because it doesn't have, additives. You pick your poison, literally.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll sort of take it. Because I was with you when I learned about all that stuff. I had a great person who ran a tequila bar in Manhattan, teaching me about tequila. And as soon as he said that, I was like, all right, I'll put up with the burn. That's
Yeah.
what it's supposed to be.
Oh, and speaking of tequila, so I was on this cruise, and they were making like espresso martinis galore because that's the hot thing. Everybody wants an espresso martini, and I like them just fine. But I'd rather have a dry martini or a slightly dirty martini. You know,
Agreed.
I like it simple. I don't like it too sweet.
Yep.
And the bartender said, "Well, I can make it with tequila," and I'm like, I don't know how that's going to taste.
Was it good?
And he's like, just try it. So he made it with the Casamigos Reposado, and I have to say, it completely elevated the drink.
Nice.
Like, anybody who wants to have an espresso martini, get it with tequila. You will not be disappointed. You do not taste like tequila. It really just kind of elevates the flavor more, which makes perfect sense because I've had coffee tequila before and I've enjoyed it. You know, I've had chocolate tequila before.
Yeah. I can't do coffee past noon. I just won't sleep. No matter what it is. I'm super sensitive to caffeine.
Yeah.
So love it in the morning, but.
And then another thing that I was talking to them about is like I've gotten asked so many times my martini things that I don't get asked. Usually it'd be like, do you want it on the rocks or up, right? Things like that, shaken, stirred. But it's like they all have different ways of doing it, and that's the question. What is the right way? Because you make a good martini.
Thank you.
So the question is shaken versus stirred? Which one's better? And I've learned something about this. The shaken, if you're going to shake it, you have to shake it lightly, not too hard.
Yeah.
But stirred is probably the best way to go.
Yeah. So I used to be all about shaken, and now I'm all about stirred. It just comes out creamier.
Yeah.
And I will sit and stir it for like 4 minutes.
But would you use frozen gin, or would you still use ice?
No, it doesn't really matter because one of the things about it either way is you got to get water content into the martini. That's what mellows it out a little bit and blends the flavor. So it's about time. Like when they're just shaking it quickly at a bar and serving it to you, you're missing out on what I think a real martini should even taste like. So when you stir it and then you have that amount of time with the ice contacting the liquor, and then you strain it properly with a gap at the bottom so you get that floater of ice on the top. Like that's the way I like to do a martini.
Is that correct?
That's the way I enjoy them and serve them.
So
I don't know
you
about
like
correct.
the crystals on top?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
I am very much enjoying a chilled martini glass.
Yeah. Oh, I always chill the martini glass. Yeah.
No, I mean, chill.
Yep. Either put it in the freezer or chill it with water and ice.
And then one of them, they made it where they set ice in the glass. And they put the vermouth in with it and let it just hang out in there, just soak, and then they dump the whole thing. Yep. And I'm like, that was perfect. Because they always ask, do you want vermouth? I'm like, well, yeah, but let's talk about that. Because a lot of times they'll just pour in vermouth and leave it in there. And I'm like, oh, no.
Totally.
Which is also interesting because people in Europe actually drink vermouth, a drink.
That is if you ask for a martini.
Like, can I just have a glass of vermouth, please?
Yeah, totally.
Gross.
Yeah, vermouth,
Gross.
straight vermouth.
Yeah. But when Spanish vermouth is very popular on the rocks, just straight. But that's the red, the red vermouth.
And that stuff is really gross.
It tastes like sangria. It's not bad.
What did you have on your notes?
I don't.
Really? You've got 15 pages?
Yeah,
I thought you had a couple things.
One thing. Well, I mean, besides, we had a great time in New Hampshire this summer in September.
Oh, tell me about that.
And Peter is an excellent boat captain.
I can actually see him as a boat captain, especially with this new beard, with the little
That's
captain's
where I was
hat.
introduced to the new
Maybe
beard.
with a captain's hat with the pipe, like a little pipe.
There was no pipe.
No.
There can be in your mind, though.
Hat on.
Had a hat.
Yeah. Captain's hat?
It wasn't, but it can be for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put a captain's hat on him for his image.
Excellent job driving us and guiding us home in the dark.
How was the temperature there?
It was lovely.
Summer.
Yeah.
It was nice.
New Hampshire. That's where you're from, right?
No, Boston.
Boston.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it was perfect weather because we got to wear ssweatshirts.
Did a good hike. You guys had the best weather for that
hike. An amazing hike.
For that view. That was the best I saw all summer.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
I'm putting off all my serious talk because I'm nervous.
Why are you nervous?
Yeah, why are you nervous?
You're nervous about the serious
You're
talk?
the one with the notes. I should be
nervous. It's just
nervous.
because I put a lot of thought into this. And I actually, you know what? Let's start with this question because this is a question that randomly came up. Sean and I were just talking and I said it and he's like, that needs to be a question on your podcast. And I'm like, that would be a good question for Peter. Ooh. So are you ready, Peter?
No, I'm never ready. Go for it.
You act ready. Okay. So what is something you've noticed or happened to you that made you think you switched timelines?
Wow, that's a super interesting question.
Yeah.
There's so how do you define timeline? Do you mean like alternate
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah.
That hits close to home because I think a lot about. I guess let me back up. I've been a member of. I was a member of EO for a very long time, Entrepreneurs Organization, and it was maybe almost 10 years ago. I'm at this event, and we all piled into a bus to go to some piece of the three-day conference, which was fabulous in Florida. And I got to talking with these guys, and we just, for some reason, got into a deep discussion about this very thing, reality and stuff like that. And one of the guys remarked about the fundamental question. And I was like, how do you define the fundamental question? And he looked at me and he said, what am I supposed to do? It's like I'm here, I'm alive. What am I supposed to do here? What's my mission? What's my path? Why am I here? And it was super interesting because, there have been a couple different steps, if I think back through my life, through my career, of places where I thought I knew what I was supposed to do or where I was supposed to be, and those did not happen. Right. So, I think, and I don't know if we talked about this last time, but, I had this sort of path that I was like going to Harvard MBA and whatever that entailed, and didn't get into Harvard. So there were a couple years after that where, to your point, it was like, but that's where I was supposed to be. So it was like total cognitive dissonance.
Sure.
Aren't I there? Isn't that reality? And then in that case, where am I?
And maybe in a different timeline you are or were.
Who the hell
Harvard.
knows, right? How can I be so, how can any of us be so sure about things that exist
That's the
within
big
ourselves?
question.
Yeah.
We can't be sure of anything.
Well, yeah, I guess, right? But then what does that say? Last time we got into it about law of attraction.
Oh, don't worry. We got a whole thing.
But
here.
the whole strategy about that is you need to picture yourself as if it's already happened, right?
Correct.
So
Right.
so that's why, I play so readily in my mind about things like law of attraction, like we spoke about, because I've been so sure about things on my path that then ended up in a totally different place, and then had to sort of resort, where was I going to go from there? If not that, then what?
Yeah.
And like any road trip across the U.S., where the point is, and then if you're supposed to go through Nebraska, and now all of a sudden I'm going through Texas, okay, well, still on the way to California, so.
Well, I mean, have you ever experienced any sort of like Mandela effect?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah,
so what's one that you've experienced?
The one with the movie? It was a Sinbad.
Oh,
playing,
Shazam!
Yeah,
I remember that movie.
I 100% remember that.
Yeah.
That was the one that really caught me.
But then that also then goes to, well, okay, is it a timeline shift based on us that we're controlling, or is it some weird adjustment bureau thing that's coming in and just bam, just every once in a while, the CIA has equipment that can just, let's see how much we can fuck with them.
You know my answer, simulation. We already talked about it.
Well, we're going to be getting into that in just a second here.
And, that's not an answer that I 100% believe in, but I don't 0% believe is true either, because of things like we're talking about now. Yeah, I don't know.
It's about to get interesting. So, okay, here's where I begin. We're going to entertain simulation theory.
Okay.
Which I know.
No, but it's not like or don't like.
But even
let's entertain ourselves with
it.
it.
But even with modern physics, right? Mm-hmm. Time might not be linear.
Okay.
Which I don't think it is, but it might not be. I'm going to say speak to it that way. I personally think it's stacked, right? That everything is happening right now. That's what I think. But let's just play with this. Let's say that it's not linear. So that said, premonitions could be glimpses of points in time that are fixed in a simulation or universe, while manifestations are the tools we use to navigate and potentially alter the flow of time. Just because you can see a fixed event doesn't mean every event is predetermined. Manifestation allows for that kind of flexibility.
If you believe that if I drop this microphone, it's going to hit the floor, and why does that happen?
Gravity.
Because you dropped it.
It's a natural force, right? This is potential energy, and if I drop it, that potential energy turns into kinetic energy. All the things that go on in our heads are just cause and effect, just like that. one thing turning into the other, a ball rolling down a hill. And if that's true, there is no free will.
All right. Well, for our listeners, if you let's just give them some insight here. We're talking about premonition versus manifestation. This is totally not like our typical episode talking about Palmas. You have to say, I love Palmas at least 5 times.
I do love
good.
Palmas.
There you go. Okay.
Not when there's water rationing.
So premonition. So premonition is someone who, like, if you dream of like a car accident and it happens exactly how you envisioned, right? So,
or how about that it happens at all?
It's something, what?
Or that it happens at all. I mean, people get visions, right?
People get visions, right? Okay, so it points to something outside of their control, like they've tapped into some sort of quote unquote like code.
That's how people usually
or the
internalize
timeline of the simulation, if that's how you want to look at it.
Or an alternate reality, or divinity, or whatever.
Where manifestation is, like, you know, like an athlete is visualizing, they want to win this big race, so they actually put into the work to achieve their goal. That's a result of intention and action aligning to create a desired reality. They're actually doing something to make it happen.
But what if it was always going to happen? They're just going through the motions.
But no,
But they could still go through the motions and not win.
Correct.
They could.
I mean,
but
even if they try their hardest and do their best.
So what I'm saying is, to your thing about the car accident, premonition explains the car accident and the runner who wins the race.
But I knew you were going to say that.
Manifestation only explains one. How do you explain the other?
It's my perspective.
Her head went, I shouldn't have had him on again.
No, I'm so glad I did. So it's my perspective that both experiences can coexist because it stems from different mechanisms. You know, one is like passive reception versus the other, which is active creation. You know, that's 2 different things.
Okay. So what if you have a horrible thought about someone you love? Just pops into your head and you're like, wow, that's terrible. And then something bad happens.
So you're saying that you somehow you manifested
Did you make it happen?
No, not at all. Because I don't personally believe that this goes to now our, you know, what kind of energy we're putting out there, the vibration that we are on. Mm-hmm. So if I'm vibrating really low, then I can't manifest anything, you know, above a certain point. If I'm vibrating very high, you know, and I'm living this amazing, happy, good, kind life, right? And I'm vibing high, I can manifest bigger things.
Okay. So earlier we were talking about dissociative reality, right? And I know you believe in free will. Mm-hmm. So how do you know where your limit of manifestation is? If I say manifest a Lamborghini right now, we'd all have a laugh about it.
But the part of it has to be something that I actually want, because that's all part of manifestation.
But I'm sure, so there've been many things in my life I really want, didn't get it. I'm sure same as for you. I'm sure the same is for you, right? We've all wanted things that we really want. What happened in that instance? It's different to just want something. But what happened?
You don't get it.
No, I know. That's why I'm asking. I don't get it. What happens in those situations? Tell us about a time where you deeply wanted something in your life that you put all the positive energy you possibly could have, and it didn't happen. How do you explain that?
Because I think deep down I didn't really want it.
Is that true?
I think because you have to go down to a subconscious level. You know, if I have believed that I have something in my life and it's there and it's a part of my life and I can see it, and I get that this goes back to which, by the way, I hate that whole laws of attraction thing ever happened, because people got like way too trendy with it and they don't really understand what it to actually do it. You know, that if I can focus on something like I have it, I make that shit happen all the time. You know, that's not premonition, because because it's not necessarily because it's things that I'm wanting, right? Yeah. So,
and then once you achieve it, you say, I knew that was going to happen.
I made a note about that.
That's premonition.
I know.
That's what it is.
I made a note about that.
I knew I was going to get it. I knew that was going to happen.
I knew you were going to say that. I made a note about that, I swear.
I feel like this section needs its own name. It needs to be like Deep Thoughts with Bex and Peter.
Yeah, we need like our own segment.
Yeah, like I don't want to be a dead horse about it, you know, because there's no way for us to.
But that's what makes us really interesting, because we both are right, we're both wrong. Yep. We don't know.
No idea.
You know, that's what's cool. why limit the simulation, right?
Okay.
So why would you assume a simulation is limited only to premonition? A simulation could just as easily support the mechanic of manifestation as a way to give, let's call us players in the simulation, right?
It could.
More autonomy. So otherwise, it would be a passive experience, which seems counter to the complexity of a designed simulation.
Okay.
Right? So in my perspective, why can't we have both?
We can.
There are cases where manifestation and premonition overlap. For instance, you could manifest a meeting with someone, but then once it happens, it feels like the premonition in hindsight because it happened.
Yeah, could be.
Right? So what I'm getting at is there aren't mutually exclusive. They could just as well be two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, they could. All I pointed out was that one explains all scenarios and the other doesn't. So in my old age, I try to see things as simply as they possibly can be. How do I explain what I'm seeing in the most simple and elegant terms? Because usually that's, what reality comes down to.
But why limit it?
Yeah, there's no reason to. Could be all those things.
Like,
Does that make you feel better?
yes, it does.
Do you feel like you're winning the debate?
No,
Okay.
I have enjoyed this conversation with Peter on multiple occasions.
Yes.
And so now I feel, because it usually happens very spontaneously and I'm put on the spot because I have all these things in my head all the time. And it's not always easy for me to grab hold of one of those things flying in my head in a moment and actually speak and sound smart. And so I'm better at thinking, writing, and being ready the next time.
So have you ever read The Psychology of Money? Book?
No.
It's a fantastic book.
No, but I read a book called Honest to Greatness, and that was pretty
I'm sure that was stellar. I hear the author's very good looking and makes a great martini.
looks good like captain's hat.
So I think you'd enjoy The Psychology of Money because it gets into some of this and it looks at the data across quote unquote successful people that gain significant wealth to see like what were the factors, and they mapped all kinds of factors onto these outcomes to figure out with statistical significance what was the thing. There was only one thing they could find that could consistently predict how wealthy someone got. You two want to take a guess what it was? It was one thing only.
They believed they would.
Okay, so self-belief.
I think it would be their consistent actions.
Consistency. So the answer is luck. There was
Luck.
nothing else that read the book, read the studies. There was no other factor that when mapped on. So consistency and believing in
But
yourself,
so then, okay,
working hard,
so
being
then-
smart, all these things took you to a certain point. And that was a very low wealth figure, by the
Luck.
way. And beyond that point, it was luck. So how does luck play into your model of manifestation?
And we're going to have part 3. She's going to have to
She's going to overload.
think this through
That's my eye starts to
and
twitch.
come back with more notes.
It's actually interesting that you say that because so we have like a weekly cribbage game, me and my ladies, and a lot of times, like
Becky gets the best cards.
but to me, I'm always thinking about it. I want,
But I mean, how many days or how many times do I'm like, the other day I was like, I wanted a very specific card. I wanted like the 5 of clubs.
Yeah.
Because I needed the clubs to whatever. And yeah. And it popped up.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, that's the card. Like that, I needed that specific card, not just a 5.
And that wouldn't be premonition because she has a specific hand, so she needs a specific card.
Right.
And I was manifesting. I'm in my head thinking,
Certainly
I need
could.
the 5 of clubs. I need the 5 of clubs.
Yeah. And maybe of all the things Erin has ever wanted in her entire life,
Was a
she was able
5
to muster manifestation
5 of
in
clubs.
that moment. Maybe.
Have
Maybe
you
it was
been trying
that-
to manifest a Vespa?
Now I'm working on it.
Okay.
So like, yeah, maybe. But what if randomness and luck is one of the biggest factors in this world we live in? Then what?
What if it comes down to something crazy though? Like we don't know how amazing we are. We only use a certain part of our brain.
Yep.
You know what I
True.
mean? So who is it to say that we aren't incredible? We just haven't been able to tap into it. And who's to say that we couldn't say something and speak it into existence just by saying it.
Yep.
You know,
We might.
I want the 5 of clubs. You know?
Yeah.
Well, you get into bias in psychology, where if a person walks through life thinking they are lucky, they are only going to see opportunity. And if a person walks through life thinking they are unlucky, they will never see opportunity. Right. So that I do believe that is a form of manifestation I can really get behind. And again, not that I actually don't believe in everything you talk about manifestation. I do.
That's great.
I know it makes you so.
No, I do agree. I agree with that. Like, you can follow somebody that, like, they have the worst luck. I mean, you have to know people like that.
Oh,
you're just like,
yeah.
How is that?
Like you with your golf cart.
Or
No,
us with our golf cart, or me with technology.
Well, think about all of us here, though. I mean, we only got here because of a pandemic. The vast majority of us.
Yeah.
Right? We would not. Jenna and I would not be here. No way. That's a random event that created all these other spider webs off of it.
Yeah.
How do you, how do you do we manifest living in Puerto Rico? Maybe. I don't know.
But I don't know. We were planning on coming before COVID, and then COVID threw a wrench. But I mean, we still came, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, so the answer is maybe. Like, I actually always thought I would live in a place with palm trees. So you'd call that manifestation, right?
Yeah.
I'd call it, I was just going to move at a certain point, didn't know when. And then I got lucky. COVID.
Well, it's also how you handle situations.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people would definitely not say they were lucky through COVID,
yep,
right?
That's true.
I mean, a lot of people ended up in
really
bad places.
Horrible.
Yeah, really
and it's really how you, I mean, it's just like Joel and I talk about this as far as, like, before you date somebody or marry somebody or are serious with somebody, travel with them to a foreign country, because that's how you know how somebody handles stress.
You know what? Isn't that the truth? And I just saw that on a reel recently that it said, instead of like a third date, go on a trip.
Yeah.
Go on a trip, because you're going to learn everything about that
Go
person.
somewhere where they don't speak your language and
see how you guys do.
And, you lose your bag and I don't know, whatever.
There's a TV show.
Yeah. There you go. Oh,
that's pretty good, actually.
There you go. That could be the next reality show.
Yeah.
What's the name of it?
Yeah, you can think of something. Peter, you got any ideas for that?
There's so much I don't know about you.
Oh my God, it's great. It's perfect.
This is how we expand television.
I think the more interesting thing we should be asking is, like, no matter what we believe about what are we supposed to do here, and is it premonition, is it law of attraction, what do we do next based on whatever belief we have?
Right.
Because if let's say I know you love your manifestation thing, let's say you're 100% right, it's manifestation, right? Shouldn't we always shouldn't we all lift a massive cover off our thinking and go orders of magnitude higher in our sort of desires and our ideal lives and the things we want to have happen to us in the future? But I would argue most don't, many don't. I mean, that's a...
How many things are we suggesting that are really the same thing, just from a slightly different perspective, name something different?
But that's why I think the next question is, what should we do about it? Because I agree with you. It's all sort of part of the same nebulous thing we can't define. But then what? Like, what are the three of us going to go and wake up and do tomorrow that's different from the track that we were already on because of this discussion?
What's really funny is this discussion is making me think of tomorrow I'm going to book club, and we read this book called The Measure, which it's not exactly the same as the manifestation line of thinking, but it basically, what happens is everybody in the world at the same time, it's basically like Santa comes, but he brings you a box on your front porch. Everybody in the world gets one, and it has a string inside of it, and it tells you how long you're going to live. And so I can't remember exactly what the card says. So the card basically tells you that that's what's inside the box. So some people choose to open the box. Some people choose not to open the box.
Yep.
Those who open the box, they then start comparing, and they figure out timelines, like how long, if you have a short string versus a long string, causes all kinds of issues in the world with, like, do you hire short stringers that you know are going to die? Or are they going to do amazing things with their, short string?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
actually really interesting.
I thought it was a really good book.
It's
So
interesting because
tomorrow that's what I'll be discussing.
because we
Very
don't
nice.
function like that as humans. We all function in our day-to-day sort of ant marching.
Because we have
Right.
free will.
Well, we can. I know you got notes about that. But that's interesting because we know we're going to die, but we're all in sort of denial about it, right? And my proof for that is, like, why haven't we done all the things on our bucket list yet? Right.
Right.
I mean, anyone dying with a short string would simply go and do it.
I heard somebody say this, and I really liked it because you hear, like, YOLO, right? You only live once, and
Yeah.
and they said, no, you only die once.
Yeah.
True.
Free will, right? So you
You-
could dance around, jump on the couch, and wave your arms. Like, you could.
Oh, I
right?
could.
But you're not going to.
No,
So why
I
not?
don't know. She might.
because I just
after-
don't. Yeah, well, I mean, don't tempt me because I will. Last time I wanted to smack you across the face.
Mom, is that you? But, like, so there's, like, so think about free will, right? Free will is not free. You
No.
can't just go and do whatever we want.
No, it's about having the capacity to make choices.
Okay, but, like, do we make? So this is part of the conversation we were just having. Do we make those choices? I would argue that sometimes, yes, a little bit. Probably most often, no.
You can't control the fact that you exist in a simulation if a simulation actually exists, but you can decide how to respond within it.
How do you know?
Because our experiences of making choices is real and meaningful.
Is it?
Yes.
But what if we're not making choices at all?
I'm making an active choice not to smack you upside the head.
So that's a perfect example, right? Like, you could smack me upside the head, but you're not going to.
I mean,
Why?
I
Because
mean-
there's all kinds of other
No,
rule
no.
sets that are telling you.
I made a note that I like here. I started. Free will doesn't require total independence from external factors. It's about having the ability to evaluate and decide within those factors. So my question to you, sir, is can you deny the meaningfulness of choices you make daily, even if those choices are influenced by your environment?
I think you're skipping ahead to meaningfulness.
Yeah.
Well, you can't assign meaningfulness to something until you've defined the something.
But it's something. So that's free will. You're making that decision, that choice.
Right. So there's where, and I don't agree or disagree with you. I think about these things, right?
If
It's an
I walk
interesting
away
thought
from this whole
experiment.
conversation with you saying I don't disagree or agree with you, I'm happy.
It's true.
It was
I love the thought experimentation. Again, I try to defer to logic, and again, like, free will isn't free. If someone comes along and they're like, "You're the ugliest person I've ever seen," free will would be like, "I care not at all about what that person said, but what are we all gonna do? We're gonna look in the mirror. We're gonna think about it. I wonder why did that person say that? You're gonna feel something. Free will isn't free. Cause and effect. Is there something in your notes about that?
Hold on.
She's referring.
But this also goes back because it's all the same thing because it's all happening. So who's to say that it's in just different terminology, you know?
You tell me. If you have free will, you have free will.
Yes.
You can do anything, say anything, have anything done or said to you, and simply decide with a light switch that you're going to think or believe or behave or react in a certain way. But we all know from life experience, none of those things are true. So can we make a decision? I don't know, maybe. I tend to think back to the physics thing and the microphone, and the
The mic drop?
The mic drop, potential energy into kinetic energy, and back again. It's probably all a ball down a hill.
So free will is a fundamental aspect of the experience
Well, but how do you know? That's what we're debating.
because you're doing it.
No.
Why?
No.
Why would the
That's not
simulation you
what's happening.
believe in, lack that feature if it's designed to mimic or test a human existence?
How do you know it's designed to test a human existence? For all we know, this entire thing is designed to test one individual or one animal species or a type of plant. Like, we have no idea. That's the thing about the bus. What am I supposed to do? Why am I here?
All right. Well, then this is actually a really good question from a practical standpoint. If we don't have free will, then how do you justify punishment, rewards, or even, like personal growth?
All rules based. Have you ever played any sort of racing game, like PlayStation or anything like that? Right. Yeah. I haven't played a video game since Nintendo 64, so that'll tell everyone how old I am. But you got the car, and you select like how much speed, how much, all this other stuff. So everything can be rules based. In fact, I would argue it is. Someone downloaded into you genes and rules, and then to some extent
but so somebody, that would mean that your genes are changing, because let's say somebody is this horrible human being, and then all of a sudden they change their behavior. How could they do that without free will?
Maybe it was always going to happen.
That makes less logical sense to me.
Why?
Because that would go back to everything is predetermined, and I don't believe that.
Right. So we're back to belief, right? So I don't know what I believe. All I know is I'm trying to trace the logic to a place where it can be instructive to me about what to do next.
It's funny. I have that noted. He's going to acknowledge that everything is predetermined. Okay. So,
did you already have this debate with ChatGPT?
No,
did you make a Peter GPT?
No, and I should have, because maybe I would have some more insight here. But
that would have been really funny.
I might have to. Maybe I'll have Jordan. Can I have Jordan debate him?
Can we do that?
Can I finish with my notes first, and then we'll bring on the smart person?
I know, but what would be really fun is like you upload the original conversation
to a Peter GPT.
Yeah,
and then see what Jordan says. That would actually be funny. So I mentioned that you were totally going to say this, and that's why I wrote this. So if you, Peter, insist that everything is predetermined, how do you know this? The belief that premonition is real doesn't automatically negate free will. It just means that some events may be easier to read on the timeline.
We don't know, but I return to you my earlier thing. If someone says something horrible to you, you can try to tell me that you can absolutely 100% brush that off and choose to brush it off. That is free will. I don't think nearly any human can do that. Maybe Elon Musk. Because he wouldn't have even heard it. He would have been thinking about rocket ships, right? But really think about that. I would be like, I can sit here and say like, oh, I don't care. I can make up a story or I can do whatever. But at the end of the day, I cannot control myself not thinking about it.
But if the outcome is preordained, then what would be the point of even trying? If there isn't free will, then...
Back to my thing. No matter where we end up tonight, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do differently?
We're going to continue to live our lives.
Morning, exactly, right? But maybe we don't. Maybe we decide we're going to do something a little crazy, a little out of our comfort zone, say yes to the thing we were going to say no to, or vice versa. Then we're back to the same argument about...
Was it always meant to be?
Was it always going to be? But if it's in the pursuit of, I'm reluctant to say happiness because I think there's a big problem with society pursuing happiness, frankly. That's a whole other topic we can get into. Yeah. But if it's in the pursuit of whatever we define as a more fulfilling life, we'll say that.
I want to go back to the happiness thing after this is done.
Then that's great.
Because I like that.
And so if I, the way I think about why am I here, I really like to inspire people. I like people to walk away from interactions with me in a better place.
Hey, you inspired me to write a lot of notes I
see that. So for me, if I can have a conversation with someone that leads them to make a more fulfilling choice for themselves, that makes me more fulfilled.
Okay, my last point that I wanted to put on here as a question is, if we don't have free will, how do you explain the human existence of having intentions or regret? Wouldn't these be unnecessary features in a stimulated reality?
Define existence.
What we're doing right now.
Okay. So what's the second half of the question?
How wouldn't these be unnecessary features in a simulated reality? This goes back to, you believe that this is a simulation.
I don't know what I believe.
I
think it's an interesting thought experiment. And I don't know what the purpose is. Religious folks would say God has a purpose for all those feelings.
Yeah, but then you go to people believe that God is actually within all of us.
Yeah.
So we're creating our reality.
Maybe.
We are all the creator.
I think the secret would say yes. I know you hate the book, but that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
I've read that book multiple times. And that's the whole idea.
When you read that book, what were your thoughts?
I think they did a beautiful job of taking modern quantum physics on one end all the way to the spiritual on the other end and weaving it together into a very compelling story. I think that as that story inspires people to be more fulfilled in their lives, that makes me very happy. So I'm sort of happy to see it out in the world. I know you don't like it, which is so interesting because you want to really express. And believe in
do you know what it is?
manifestation.
It's like I think it's not about that. It's just. I remember when that came out, and it was people talked about it so surface level. It was on all the news channels, and they're like, "Oh, the secret, the secret."
They did a good job marketing.
Yeah, they did a great job, but it was like people don't really put things to practice. They say they do. Oh, I have my mood board or whatever, where are my things that I want. But I think people think it's a passive action that if I create this board that has the house I want, the car I want, but I look at it every day, then it's just magically going to happen.
Yep. As I said earlier, I think the simple explanation's probably the right one. Mm-hmm. And so whatever unifies all those things to the solution, like if we actually knew, we'd probably all go like, yeah, that's so obvious. Like that explains all of it.
You are one of the most interesting people I've ever talked to.
Thank you.
I very much enjoy talking to you. I always enjoy talking to you. And I enjoy talking to you when you also make us drinks. Yeah, because your drinks are delicious.
I'm happy to anytime.
Which do you consider to be higher, wealth or rich?
Right. So
what
you
was
have wealth and you have rich.
Yeah.
Wealthy
Great
or
question.
rich? What do those two things mean to you and how are they different?
So rich to me is, I feel like it's not as encompassing as wealth. Like I think that wealth really kind of takes on everything, a little bit of everything, and rich is just, I'm rich in this, I'm, rich in that, but wealthy just, it to me, my opinion is that wealthy is more encompassing than just being rich.
Yeah, that was a consensus around the pool. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think rich is mostly monetary.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to know what the dictionary says because none of us consulted one.
Do you know what? Let's ask Jordan.
Let's ask because I was the opposite.
Yeah.
Wow. Why?
I know. Yeah, she was the only one that said the
felt
opposite.
like rich was you're rich in love, you're rich in abundance, you're rich, you could be rich in money, it could be and wealthy to me is more opulence and showy.
And
whereas I feel like rich is
I see the exact opposite. That's so interesting.
I know.
Yeah,
But
that's
so
really
did everybody.
Yeah.
But that wasn't how we were, at least not my understanding of how it was, the question was phrased. Because it was more about
for me,
like,
it's not just
money.
It's not just about money. Like that's why I said it the way I did because it's your health.
Holistic.
It's all of it.
It's holistic.
It's all encompassing.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I agree.
That's a good one.
So do you still feel the same?
100%.
Wealth is more than rich.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I feel that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
Guess I'm gonna have to do a little research.
You can get some notes for our third episode with Peter.
See if I can change my own mind.
Let's agree that we all should have both and should manifest both,
yeah.
right, Becky?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm already on it.
Because why have one? You may as well have both.
I know.
We can have all of it.
We can have it all.
Can we?
We can have
that's a good question too. I wonder that.
We can have it all.
Is life a series of trade-offs or can one really have it all?
We can have it all. I honestly believe that you can have it all.
I've always believed that.
Yeah.
And it's I think that but you have to put in the work. You have to put in, and it's not like going to a job. It's not about that. It's about doing all the internal work.
Once you have it all, does that equal happiness?
No, because I actually agree with Peter. I don't really like the word happiness
I don't know.
because it's I think it's a word that's just used, but it's not really. I listened to this guy talk and he is talking about how anxiety doesn't really exist. It's a scale of sad, mad, all these other emotions. And that's what creates, and then you just slap a label on it and call it anxiety.
Yeah.
But it's really this whole sliding scale of different emotions from sadness and mad, angry, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think that happiness is kind of the same. It's just this like word that we use, but it's not really the word.
See, I take a different issue with it. I think the whole pursuit of happiness is misguided. First of all, we don't do it as humans. Like, there's all kinds of things we could do that make us happy that we don't, and then going to work is one of those things. Like, no one would work ever if it was only about maximizing happiness, but we make trade-offs, right?
Yeah.
It's not all about the happiness. And then when we do try to maximize happiness, think about what's going on with, parenting today, my sad generation ruining kids, all about what makes the kid happy. Mm-hmm. Wrong question. Then we get a bunch of happy kids who are entitled and think they should get a participation trophy. Not productive for a society, which I would, creating productive humans, how much does that have to do with happiness? I don't know. So I take issue with the whole sort of concept and the way we think we should pursue it as the number one thing.
If you guys like this kind of talk, please let us know, because we enjoy switching it up. And at the end of the day, this show is called There's So Much I Don't Know About You. And look what you just learned about us and Peter.
Yeah, that we know nothing. We literally have no idea.
But we have thoughts.
But everyone listening to this and the three of us are going to wake up tomorrow. We're going to ask the question, like, what am I going to do differently today?
And we're going to do everything the same.
Well, let's hope not.
Maybe.
Let's hope not.
No, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about personal growth. And I think that's why we're here. That we're here. You talked about purpose, right? Mm-hmm. I think it's so, if our consciousness, our souls are a real thing, and I believe that they are, then if our soul is internal, then we are here like a school, that we're here to continue to grow our soul, to keep leveling up. We can always be better.
So if that's true, why do nice people finish last? Why do we know so many kind folks that die early?
Because it's all lessons. It's all things that I believe, chose for our lives.
Maybe
a planned time, a planned time that we wanted to leave. And sometimes the purpose is not for you; it's for somebody else. Well, why did my friend die early? That was my best friend. Why did they have to die early? Yeah. Well, that might have been a lesson for me to learn something from.
Could be.
And if you don't learn it, then you come back and do it again.
I guess. Did we get through all your notes? Because they were extensive.
They were, but I skipped over a few things because I didn't need to articulate it more than once. It was just over the last how many months, I would write down thoughts and just, if it would hit, then I would use it, but overall we hit the important thing. I love Palmas.
I love Palmas. Do you love Palmas?
Yeah, I think Palmas is fantastic. I mean, I wish I had, flowing running water would be nice.
Be cool.
But
hopefully by the time this episode airs, we all have water again.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's hope so.
Yeah. I mean, we might have a period of transformation coming up. I mean, so what the PHA board's trying to do here is extensive.
Good.
And there are good people on the board battling to do the things we need to do that will not be free, but will be necessary.
Good.
So that always encourages me.
Yeah.
But one thing on the docket with PHA is a power source here.
Oh, gosh, that would be amazing.
Continuous clean energy.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
It's possible.
Well, this has been great.
Yeah.
Very insightful, thought-provoking.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I wish I had answers for you. All I have is more questions.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
Because that's what makes it interesting.
Yeah.
Is the possibilities.
Indeed. I got to go home and manifest a Lambo. That's what I learned today.
Oh, yeah.
Manifest.
Wen Lambo.
Wen Lambo. I'm not even a Lamborghini person. So.
I'm not either. It's not a dream car.
No.
Erin, what's your dream car?
I'm not a car person. So
what's your dream Vespa?
Bicycle.
Yeah, dream Vespa.
Dream Vespa.
What is your dream car?
I'm with my wife. She's an Aston Martin fan.
Oh, nice.
She has very good taste, obviously.
Obviously.
So
I have a soft spot for classic cars.
Yeah.
And I would love a 1956 Jaguar Roadster.
Oh.
56 was a beautiful year.
Nice.
Black tan leather interior. I would take a dark green one too. Green would be fine. But I like the black with the tan. It's classy.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Nice. Love it.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, ladies. Always a pleasure to be here.
Until next time when we talk about luck.
There you go.
Thank you, Peter.
Very welcome. See you next time.
Okay. Bye.
Thank God, Erin. It's really
You're going to
good.
edit this part
She's
out?
So good.
Yes.
She's so good at editing. I love you for that. What did I say?
I think we should have the notes kerfuffle in there. I think it should be central part of the
I have to
episode.
bring it because I put a lot of.
I mean, this is the first time she's ever brought her computer.
I'm very impressed.